Hey, what's up guys? It's Gutex. Welcome to part one of our streaming tutorial. Today we're going to be showing you how to stream from an Xbox using XSplit, which is a pretty common program. The reason for doing this, of course, is that we get a lot of questions from you guys. What gear do you use? How do I stream? How do I get started? So we thought rather than writing you back one by one, we would just kind of put together this video and show you how to do it. First thing that we're going to be talking about is hardware, and the reason that we're going to be talking about how to stream from an Xbox is simply because there's less hardware involved, and that's probably the most common platform right now. Streaming from PS3 is a little bit more complicated, but we'll get into that later. So the first thing that we'll do is talk about exactly what kind of hardware you need. First, of course, you're going to need your Xbox and your monitor, or Asus monitor, or whatever, it doesn't really matter. And then you're going to need an HDMI splitter. This is a monoprice HDMI 2-in, 1-out splitter, which means that it gets one input and splits it into two signals over HDMI. Then of course we're going to need 3 HDMI cables total, one from the Xbox to the splitter, one to the monitor, and then one to the computer. Speaking of computers, let's talk about computers real quick. We use the Clockwork IT Flow, which is built specifically for streaming. Part of the reason that we use it over any other desktop or laptop is because, first of all, we need to use it here in the cross-counter studios when we're shooting, so we don't really always do a lot of stuff on the go, so we don't necessarily need to have a laptop for home streaming. The other reason is because when you're using a laptop, you're limited on the number of HDMI inputs that you have coming in. With the Clockwork Flow, we're able to have up to 4 AverMedia HD capture cards, so that you can get 4 HD inputs on one computer, which means that you could get your the game footage and 3 HD cameras if you wanted to, if you had the hardware to do so. It's also got an i7 in there, which means that you have 8 cores to work with, which means that you can stream and record at the same time. That's why we use Clockwork IT Flow. Moving on, of course, we have the monitor for the desktop, and then finally we have the mixer, of which of course you would plug in your headset or other microphone in order to do commentary, because you're probably streaming you and your friends playing games. So now let's go through everything and plug everything in so you guys can see how everything works. So now that we have a better idea of what hardware is involved in streaming, let's go through each piece one by one and then see how everything is connected so you guys can see how to set all this stuff up yourselves. So the first thing we're going to do is going to take the HDMI output of the Xbox and plug that into the input of the splitter. And then output number 1 is going to be going into the monitor, your Asus, and output number 2 is going to go into the input of the computer. So I'm just going to plug it in over here into the top one of our 3 AverMedia Game Broadcaster HD capture cards. And now let me turn on the Xbox, and we'll be getting signal here and then here on the computer. So what I like to do is open up the AverMedia Media Center program, whatever it is, just to make sure that we're getting in signal, because sometimes XSplit can be kind of finicky. So you just click on capture, and then since we have 3 devices in here, we're just going to start at the top one. So it's not device 1, but we do have signal with device number 2. So that's helpful. So now that we're getting our signal from the Xbox, it's going into the splitter, it's split onto the monitor, and it's also coming in correctly through the capture card. Now the next step is to set up the audio. So we're going to use this mixer. Any mixer that you find is basically going to be more than enough for what we're doing here. You really only need like 2 mic inputs for commentators. So, and this isn't actually the way that we do it, so I don't actually have some mics to show you because we use a Zoom handheld recorder and 2 lavalier mics like this one. But using the mixer with two mics is definitely like the cheapest, most inexpensive way to get started. So, but the setup is the same basically. You're going to plug your mics in right here, and then you're going to plug into the tape output. And then you're going to take the output. Oh, I forgot to mention, these are just RCA to 1/8 inch. This is just the RCA to 1/8 inch cable, your red and whites into a headphone jack. So we plug that into the tape output, and then we plug the input into the line in, which is usually the blue one. And now we're all set. So now everything is connected, and we should be getting signal in audio and video. So the next step is, how do we configure the software in XSplit? So sit tight.